In this vlog, I'm going to summarize and analyze the novel 1984 by George Orwell. At the beginning of the novel, we see Winston writing in his diary. Though this may seem harmless, he's actually taking a huge risk and rebelling against the government. The reason writing in a diary is a huge risk for Winston is because he lives in Airstrip 1, a part of Oceania that is under totalitarian rule under a party named Big Brother. The government attempts to control everything citizens do, say, and believe, which is why Winston should not be writing his feelings in a diary. Winston writes things like, "I hate my life," and eventually even, "I hate Big Brother," and he's taking a huge risk rebelling against the government, as if he's caught, he will be jailed and tortured by the Thought Police, the police who control Oceania and all the citizens within it. Winston works in the Ministry of Truth as a records editor, where he literally rewrites history to align with the party's views. He notices two people who work with him in the same building, Julia and O'Brien. Julia is a girl he's both attracted to and scared of, as he thinks she's the type of person that would report him to the Thought Police, as she seems to be brainwashed by the party's views. The other guy, O'Brien, has some sort of administrative position. Winston has a feeling O'Brien does not totally support the party's ideals either, after observing his unorthodox behavior at work. The book takes a turn when Julia passes Winston a note that says, "I love you." The idea of passionate love is prohibited in Oceania, and Winston is surprised by this note, but wants to take action as he wants to take part in this love affair to rebel against the government. Eventually, Winston and Julia take a train to the countryside and have a passionate love affair. They live in a room belonging to Mr. Sherrington, a man with a second-hand store in the Pearl District. One day at work, O'Brien invites Winston to come to his house to look at a Newspeak dictionary. This is very strange to Winston, as people usually don't invite others to their homes in Oceania. Winston is afraid and intrigued, and he takes Julia to O'Brien's house to figure out what's going on. At O'Brien's house, O'Brien shocks Winston by turning off the telescreen, which is supposed to be on all the time. Winston and Julia confess to O'Brien that they want to rebel against the government, and O'Brien gives them a book called The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism that explains why things are the way they are. O'Brien also explains that there's a rebel group called the Brotherhood. Winston starts reading the book back in Mr. Sherrington's room when the Thought Police bust in and arrest him and Julia. They take them away to the Ministry of Love to torture them and brainwash them into believing the party's ideals. Back at the Ministry of Love, they torture Winston in the most awful ways. They break his bones, apply electric shock, and starve him. It is revealed that O'Brien is not truly a rebel. He just wanted to catch and trap Winston and make him get caught by the Thought Police. They finally break Winston down in room 101, where they do what you are most scared of. They threaten to let a cage of rats eat at Winston's face, and this is when he shouts to them, "Do it to Julia, and not me." This is the ultimate betrayal, and the government has fully gotten into Winston's head and made him believe what they truly want him to believe. Eventually, the government lets Julia and Winston go. Once they meet on the outside, Winston is unable to feel any real feelings of love for Julia, and does not even think about rebelling against the government. Through the torture, he had been completely brainwashed into believing whatever the government said. 1984 portrays that it is possible to brainwash a person completely. This is very alarming, as it proves that a person can be brainwashed completely into believing what the government wants them to believe. In a sense, the government makes pawns of all of us. However, on the flip side, it also proves that it is very difficult to get into a person's head so much to the extent to where they believe that 2 plus 2 is 5 when it is not. It is alarming to see how much people can be affected by torture and brainwashing, which is something 1984 illustrates perfectly. We see that Winston is completely broken down, physically and emotionally. We see the dehumanization of this character, how his personal freedoms are taken away to the point where he doubts himself for ever going against Big Brother. Winston displays individuality versus conformity, but we see that in the end, conformity does win. An excellent job of portraying the effects of staunch dictators like Hitler and Stalin, and it portrays how they can manipulate people to conform. The tone of the novel is rather uniform and dismal, which fits with the gloomy setting of the novel also. Overall, Orwell warns the public of totalitarian dictators like Stalin and Hitler, and warns of their rise in his novel 1984.